Hello, hello. I'm back. I know. It's been months. Has it been months? Anyway, existential issues. We're not going to get into it. I'm back. I'm back for a particular reason. You're going to say, Chris, what are you doing? Okay. I'm coming back to record a few more things that are tactical. And the reason I've been putting them off is that they're boring. I have to tell you how to fill out the Common App application. I have to tell you some strategies about choosing colleges, things like that. But today I decided to embark on a video that's just a terrible idea, which is to discuss race in college admissions. The reason it's a terrible idea is that there's nobody who doesn't secretly have an opinion, and it's problematic to say the least in many ways. So if you're coming here expecting me to be on the side of some crazy right-wingers who believe that college should just be for white nationalists, you will not find it. But however, if you're expecting me to say to you that none of this matters and we need to give reparations to everybody and basically tell all the white people to kick rocks because of their privilege, you're not going to find it. So the reason I decided to record this, is because people come up to me. Not often, but people do mention this topic to me from both sides. And I was like, well, nothing you can do about it. Can you be born a different race? There's nothing you can do about it. But then I started thinking about it, and one of the things that we can do about it is understand it a little bit better, and more importantly, sort of try to push the industry towards some solutions I think will be helpful. Okay. So there are two things I want you to leave this video with, and that's the reason I'm recording it. Okay. So let's just start with some stories. Okay. The stories are, I'll give you an example. Right now, I have a student who's a young black woman who's going for free to a very highly selective college. And she deserves it. For reasons I won't bore you with, it's clear, because she's in a specific program, that one of the reasons she's in that program is because of her race. Should she feel bad about it? No. Because what I tried to explain to her is, you don't know how rare you are. This is a word we're going to keep coming back to. The rarity that she embodies is special. Okay, is she perfect? No. She's a kid. She makes all kinds of mistakes. She misses deadlines. I'm yelling at her all the time. Okay, but given her background and given her achievements, people should be applauding. Okay, like this. None of this like, no, people should be applauding. Okay, that's on one side. On the other side, people have come to me and say, Mr. LeBounty, I have a hard question for you. Is it true that I'm not going to get into college because I'm Asian? No, it's not true. However, and I don't say it like this, you will get discriminated against, using air quotes, okay? Because the population, these are questions we don't have the answers to, okay? But the population of people applying to college of your race is very high, and the pool of those people are all highly achieving. How can that be the case? These are the numbers. We don't want to discuss them because we don't know the answers to why. Okay. And that's way beyond my pay grade. Some people can say, well, it's tiger mom behavior. And then the Indians will say, well, the Indians, because they came as an educated class, and then because they're interested in education and they came primarily, the diaspora of Indians came already educated. They put their kids in education. There's a lot of things we can talk about. We're not going to, okay? But these are the kind of things I have to answer. So then it really comes down to, why does college even care about race? Because it's annoying and they shouldn't. And this is where we got to do a little background, okay? So what you have to remember is a few things that nobody's arguing, okay? Nobody is arguing that it was only 50 years ago that there was massive racism, and black people, Jewish people, people of different races were not even allowed to enter a lot of these spaces. Okay. Nobody can say that's not true, because it is, which is why HBCUs were invented, which is why we have the Civil Rights Act. Okay. It's also true, because of the Civil Rights Act was only in 1964, that we're not talking about a lot of time. So if you're not talking about a lot of time, you don't have a lot of time to have 4 generations of grandpas with legacy at Ivy League colleges. Are there some kids whose parents went to Harvard who are black? I'm sure there are, but we're not talking about big numbers, because this Civil Rights Act, 64, okay? Also, we're talking about money. Money takes time to build, right? My family doesn't have any money, but that doesn't mean that there isn't a huge disparity between wealth built in certain ethnicities and wealth built in other ethnicities. And that's because of a lot of opportunities we know about. Okay, so now we're bringing ourselves to why affirmative action started. Okay, so we all know what affirmative action is. And it started, and these are the reasons that we're going to do it. And then there's Supreme Court case after Supreme Court case. Everybody's trying to fight this. Okay, nobody likes the idea that supposedly people from minority backgrounds are getting extra points in their application process. Okay, so we have a move to a word I've used many times in this series called holistic admission. So now you can hide behind holistic admissions, but we all know that race is a factor in the holistic admissions. And the question that you all have is, why? So what they convinced over these years the Supreme Court of is, okay, we're not going to do quotas. We're not going to pick people based on their race. We're going to put it in the mix because diversity is important. Why is diversity important? Well, this is the belief of all the college administration people and most people's personal belief, that it just doesn't make any intellectual sense that the best thing to do is have the same group of people all in the same college. Okay, this is a college for Asian people. This is a college for white people. That makes no sense. Okay, we should have diversity in these spaces, and it's weird if you don't believe that. Okay, so diversity is the goal. Now the problem is, because it's competitive, now we start feeling like it's zero sum. Okay, and this is where we start losing people. Okay, I can kind of tell you, I think, where we started losing people. We started losing people once it became very difficult to get into college, because now it's obvious that your kid's getting in and mine's not. So the problem that we have to identify is, and I continue to harp on it in the series, is the falling admissions rate for all these schools. More people applying to college, international students applying to college. Admission rate now is in single digits. Single digits means that we're in a situation where nothing is objective. So all the people out there who are like, well, let's just put more emphasis on the SAT and let's put more emphasis on grades. It's not going to work, because remember, we can delete all the people who did poorly in school, and we deleted all the people who did poorly on the ACT, and we still have way too many people to fit in this funnel of only 1,500 kids, to use an Ivy League school size example, right? We still have too many people, so we have to start picking based on different holistic things. And one of them is race, because what the schools are trying to do is try not to do anything that's too bizarrely bad, okay? So let's give you an example. What should the diversity mix be of a school? You don't have the answer. I don't have the answer. I can give you a guess, like, well, maybe it should reflect roughly the population. Would that be okay with you if we, roughly had the diversity? Well, I can tell you that most colleges do not roughly have a diversity mix ethnically that mirrors the population. So here's an example. I was sitting down with a student one time. I won't put the school on blast. And she was interested in a particular school. And she said, Mr. Labani, I went on the college board, and there's a section there, and you can see this on the college board, their schools report statistics. And I was blown away to find that only 10% of the school was black. And I said, oh, really? That does surprise me. Huh. Why does that surprise me? Because we weren't talking about Maine. We weren't talking about North Dakota. I don't know. We were talking about a school in which the state is 40% black. 1 second. So if a school resides in an area that's 40% black and they only have 10% of their population as African American, that might make you feel like that's weird, right? So you can imagine that school putting together some programs to recruit and to accept more black students. Would that be strange to you? No, it's not strange. The second way we lost people is with this misunderstanding of white privilege, basically. Nobody seems to be able to explain what white privilege is. I can do it in 30 seconds, okay? Obviously, this is not a nuanced take. I'm just giving you a quick answer. White privilege is a math problem. If you think of it as a math problem, what is the percent chance that when I go to rent a house, that the reason I'll be denied is because of my race? It's like 0, but let's just say it's 5%, okay? What is the percent chance that your friend who's black goes to rent that house and he will be denied the rental application because of his race? You'll say, well, I don't think it happens too often in LaBounty anymore. You're probably right, but let's say it's 25%, okay? The delta between my situation and his situation is a privilege. That delta is an advantage, okay? But we started losing everyone because we started telling everyone that none of their accomplishments mattered and all the things they did is because they're privileged. And a lot of poor white people in this country in particular, because there's millions of poor white people in this country, got all mad and the politics changed for many reasons I won't get into. And now affirmative action has been outlawed by the Supreme Court. That's a couple reasons why we start losing people. We got to bring them back. Okay, so here's how we bring them back. The competitive nature of college admissions means that the schools are always going to be very interested in rarity, like we just talked about. Okay, and I told you that the student I have now is very rare. You have to trust me. I'm not going to give you all of her details. Okay, she comes from very poor background and is achieving a lot academically, so that's rare. But the problem is rarity is in the situation. So if you're in Arkansas and you have some Vietnamese students applying, you might, I have no idea if there's Vietnamese people in Arkansas, I'm just making this up. They might find that very rare. And when your kid comes home from school freaking out because they're getting rejected from schools and their friend is not getting rejected, it's likely because the friend is exhibiting some rarity that your son or daughter is not. And nobody is telling you that you should be cool with that, because that's annoying, because that rarity is oftentimes, and this is the problem, something that they can't do anything about. It's just the way they were born. I can't do anything about the fact that I'm Asian and I'm supposedly not rare in the pool. That's unfair. So I understand both sides, and that's why we're in the middle of this situation. But how do we bring people back? I propose that we bring back the original purpose for why it is that schools wanted to give students from minority backgrounds a leg up, and that's because they were extremely disadvantaged educationally and economically. Educationally and economically. If you go to a terrible high school that doesn't even have advanced math, you're not going to be like in the same situation nailing the math section of the ACT as someone who went to an awesome school where the guy who teaches calculus got a PhD from MIT, okay? Economically, you can't afford things, okay? You can't afford ACT prep. You can't afford those fancy summer workshops that all of these kids are doing. You can't afford to do all kinds of extracurricular cool stuff outside of school that makes your application look great. We have to understand that wealth is an advantage and poverty is a trauma that disadvantages students. So when you go on social media and you see that kid, every year there's a kid like this. I got into 25 colleges, and it's like Princeton, Yale, it's like all the ones, right? And you're like, whoa. And half the comments, I don't read the comments, half the comments are nasty, and half the comments are, congratulations, you deserve it. And both those people are right and both those people are wrong. Because that kid is definitely exhibiting some rarity by his race and probably by his socioeconomic status. So we can't have it to where the colleges are only accepting the international kid who checked black on his application because his dad is the CEO from France, and the other kid whose dad's a doctor in Chicago, and everyone's looking for the same 10 kids. Okay? We can't have that situation. And this is why this came up with the mayor. I don't know if he's heard the story. The leading candidate to be mayor of New York City checked African American on his college application when he clearly is not. Okay, so this has all got to change, and what we have to move towards, in my opinion, don't cancel me. This is my opinion. I think this is the only way it's going to work. We have to move towards a socioeconomic system, because the reason that we're giving these kids a little more push in the process is because they're supposed to be coming from disadvantaged backgrounds. And if we bring in more people from low-income backgrounds, we will capture those racial identities in the college that we need as well. It's very likely that we will, given the state of the wealth gap in the country by race. Okay? So the reason I made this video is because I wanted you to take away two things. Don't get angry at kids in your high school. Okay? Don't get angry at the system is holding you back. It's happening for two reasons. It's happening because they're not thinking enough about socioeconomic status, in which case you and your friend at school would most likely be in similar boats. And it's happening because, remember, the acceptance rates have dropped so much that we're now in a situation where most kids are getting denied. It's not just you. Everyone's getting denied. And then when you find out that your friend from Afghanistan got accepted and you didn't, the answer is simply because the kid from Afghanistan is demonstrating a level of rarity in the process to which you can understand. We got to take some of these kids. They're all good. None of them are bad. They're all good. We got to take some. And they start picking different kids that exhibit rarity in the process. Okay? It's not time to get angry at anyone. It's not time to start blaming different ethnic groups. It's time to get the schools to expand their enrollment so the acceptance rates are not terrible. It's time for people to start applying to more different levels of schools instead of everyone applying the same school. And it's time for the colleges to move to a socioeconomic system for diversity instead of a racial oriented one. Okay. I'm probably going to delete this whole thing, but I thought maybe people would find that helpful. Okay. Love and respect. Talk next.